Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pushing Horizon podcast, the podcast where runners, rebels, and relentless mind share how they chase down the impossible one step at a time. This is your host Ash. Today's guest is a beast on the road. Kevin has run multiple marathons, including 5 in a single year. Yeah, you heard that right. His marathon PR is 3 hours and 20 minutes set in Chicago 2018, and now he's got his eyes set on a sub 25k and a faster marathon time. Oh, and just to make things interesting, he signed up for his first ultra this year in Switzerland. This episode is about discipline, recovery, and chasing big goals without any of the Instagram bullshit. So let's get right into it and let me introduce your guest today. Hey Kevin, man, welcome to the show. I'm really pumped up for this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and chat through some running topics.
Yeah, and we have run a lot together, not as much as frequently, but we used to run to last year. I think we ran 5, 6 times. It was like best time ever. So
Yeah,
I know
it's
you and I
definitely
for
nice to have the companion.
yes, we even went for some faster runs when we invited other people, and that was like hectic times.
Yeah, it was like a little party.
I have been following you and I know you personally well, but the folks who are listening to us right now may not know. Can you please just give a little quick introduction about you? Who is Kevin?
I'm Kevin. Originally from the US, been living in Berlin, Germany since 2015. I have always sort of been interested in running throughout my life in different phases, and I started to take running more seriously in late 2016, and that's when I started to participate in my first running events, half marathons, etc. I think I've done 18 marathons in total, and also a handful of half marathons, 10Ks, 5Ks, etc. And just love the sport very much.
Dang, 18 already. A lot.
It's been fun, but each one has just been incredible, and I learn something every time, and just like the ambiance and atmosphere at every race is special in its own right.
Let's get into it. You talked about running seriously since 2016. So, what got you into running for?
My origin story starts when I was maybe around 5 or 6, actually. And back then, I would accompany my dad to the local track. I would just kind of run alongside him with no idea what I was doing, really. And I thought I just had to run as fast as possible. I thought that's what running was. And of course, I quickly ran out of gas and was just super exhausted. And I was wondering, why do you do this, Dad? And then later on in school, in PE class, we used to have to run a mile every year. And I think most kids in the class dreaded this. And I was definitely one of those people. I managed to run it okay, but definitely was not a fan of running at this time when I was younger. And then in high school, I stopped gym class at a certain point and thought, like, I need to do something for my fitness to stay healthy. And running seemed like a really good idea there because, like many people say, it doesn't require much know-how, allegedly, or much equipment, allegedly, beyond running shoes. And I would just go to the local trail and run laps there for an hour. And this was before smartwatches were everywhere. So I didn't really track how far I was running or how fast I was running. Interestingly, I think being agnostic of the success metrics of running actually made me enjoy it a bit more. So there was no pressure of running a certain speed or time. And for me, it was just a good way to unwind and relax. And then in college, I started running at one of the local trails. And that's when I started to start challenging myself a bit more. I ran my first half marathon back then and couldn't believe it that I could even run a half marathon. And it's really felt like this Herculean feat that I somehow accomplished. But I thought like I would never really go beyond a half marathon because people who run marathons are crazy and that's not me. And then back in late 2016, I was vacationing in northern Germany at the North Sea, and there happened to be a half marathon in the town I was staying in. And I just decided on a whim I would sign up for it. And that was actually my first real race. The crazy thing is, I came in third place. There weren't so many
Wow.
participants, to be honest. And I was even on the podium, and that gave me a bit of a confidence boost and made me think, oh, I actually try participating in more races and I could take running a little bit more seriously. And then from there, what was always on my bucket list was to run the New York City Marathon. Like, I thought I would never be able to do it, but that started to become more of a reality at that point. And I put my name in the lottery for 2017. Somehow I got really lucky and got picked through the lottery. And that was the start of my sort of marathon experience too. So we're now 18 marathons later.
I think that's how we all start though. When you were running, I hated running it, and the idea of running marathon, it's just like ludicrous, you know?
It's so ironic, like what I used to hate as a kid, I now love to do as an adult. And I do it in my free time. I plan vacations around it, etc.
Yes.
So it's quite a change.
I've noticed this thing that so when we don't run, then marathon distance seems a lot, right? So now we are capable of running marathons. I mean, we may take more or less hours, more about that. Now we do ultras, and then now, like I was talking about earlier, I think our perception also changes because the things that we thought once was hard, now it's doable for us. You know, we can run marathon with a little bit of training, and now we are always trying to look further. So now that's why we signed up for ultra basically because marathon is not enough,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you're
and
constantly challenging yourself. And
yeah.
yeah, for me, the next thing is the ultra, but yeah, we'll get to that.
That's what I was just noticing. I was like, once marathon was hard, now we are looking for ultras, 100 Ks, 50 Ks, 160 Ks, and then there comes this 250-mile one.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but one day.
Yes, obviously, one step at a time.
Thank you.
You've got very interesting and sharp goals this year because you said you wanted to run a sub 25K and do a better marathon time, and that's like faster
Yeah.
than 320 that you got in Chicago. So, oh yeah, Chicago is the fastest, right? Or you run
That's my
fastest
fastest,
before
but I
after
was
that?
also in a different shape back then.
So what is your fastest when you before after the three? You still don't.
My fastest currently is like around 3:49. I think I did in Berlin last year.
Okay. What is the fire right now that keeps you motivated to do this sub 20, which is difficult
Yeah.
because running is hard and then you want to do sub maybe 40. So what is
uh,
all this burning right now?
I've been inching closer and closer to a sub 25K. I got really close last year. I think it was 2036 in the summer. And I think it's one of the things I really enjoy about running is that with every race, there's always something to learn that can help you in the future. It can be small stuff like clipping your toenails beforehand or taping your nipples because nobody likes bloody nipples, but just like the challenge of understanding how you can improve, whether it's to do with your pacing or your nutrition. That's something that keeps me going and gets me excited for future races.
Are you on track for the both of that this time around?
I hope so. I kind of need to schedule a race to actually test myself, but I've definitely been working on my pacing lately. The Garmin definitely keeps me in line in that regard, but I have to do more speed training, which is something that in the last few years I haven't focused so much on. I've just been mainly doing endurance runs and focusing on long runs, which is a different challenge, of course, but with the 5K, I think I'm getting there and I hope it happens this year.
It some of us it's really hard. The knees, the quads, the hips are the
Mm,
basically the areas that we get more issue into. And you said you have been really incredibly lucky in this regard with no injuries, like we were talking about before. So
yeah.
is there anything that you do that has made you not so injury prone or anything in just general? Like what have you done
Yeah.
different that you had been staying away injury free, which is very hard to do?
Well, I think maybe one thing I do that works in my favor in that regard is just making sure I have enough rest. I notice that mileage per week or per month tends to be maybe on the lower side compared with a lot of folks I see out in the running community because I'm managing maybe like 30 to 40 kilometers per week, which isn't like a whole lot, but I'm definitely budgeting the time to recover from that and to get adequate rest. And I guess that has worked to my benefit in that I have hardly had any injuries in my time running.
I know that I see you run few times a week compared to me, four times sometimes. Good for you, man. I think it's one of the things I've always felt hard doing because I'm very
Absolutely.
injury prone from the beginning. And you have to ask what injury that I don't have because it's easy to say that than this like what injuries I have. I'm happy for you because that's like one of the very hardest thing to do is not get injured because it's so competitive, right? We look at things and we want to improve ourselves, like you said. Like that's why you are going for sub 20 and 340. You know, it's
Yeah.
so hard because to push our body to limit, and I'm really glad that you can just do it and maintain and everything and do everything together.
I think that's also challenging in its own right, just because when you're a runner, I feel like you want to get out there almost every day, and
Yeah.
it's hard to resist that urge, but I've been managing so far.
We talked about you doing this sub 40, but then last year was just very incredible year for you because you did five marathons. That takes real strength, not just physically, mentally as well, because it's hard running five marathons. And I know you were doing two in 1 month when we were talking about the marathon too.
Mm.
What keeps you locked in during the training and race days?
I'm someone who likes to have a goal to work toward. So actually just knowing that I have a race coming up is generally enough motivation for me to stay on track with my training. And because of that, I like to plan my races for the year very early. And I also don't want to miss out on any ballot entries, for example. But like I already know my first race in 2026. So I really try to plan ahead and then have those goals that I'm working towards. And that keeps me motivated and
What's the 2026 first one you're doing? Which marathon is it?
Spain next year. Well, that's kind of the cool thing is that it's not in the normal race season, in my opinion,
Yeah, because it's still cold, but Spain is nice.
for sure.
You do so much marathon so far. There have been 18 of those. And what has been the hardest one so far? And when you were going through this hard part during the marathon, how did you push through it?
This is a good question because there's a very clear winner here of all my marathons. So I said 18 marathons, but it might be more like 17.9 marathons because I did have one DNF, which was in London in 2021. Just to explain what happened, this was still like during the pandemic and we weren't sure when the race was going to be happening. So it kind of moved around a bit and ended up happening in October of that year. And that summer, when I should have probably been training more, I was traveling a lot because it was like the first time that things had opened up again and I was just wanting to get out more. That was probably the first issue. And then on the race day, I probably started out too fast, made that classic mistake, and didn't hydrate well enough along the route as well. And I was a little bit nervous because it was my first race since 2019 and I was not sure where I would be physically for it. And unfortunately, I got to maybe like, I don't know, kilometer 40 or so. It was like right around Big Ben. And I was turning the corner there. And the next thing I could remember was waking up in the medical tent and being a little bit disoriented and realizing that I had overheated and I had passed out. I think I just like walked to the side of the course and just collapsed. And they had to basically cool me down. And then I had to go to the hospital and they kept me there for a bit. And that was really tough, I have to say, because you put all this effort into races and you really want to perform the day of it. And some things, I mean, this was, I think in hindsight, I should have known better, but it was a little bit demotivating, I guess. And I was like feeling pretty awful. But I decided like I'm not going to let this be the end. This is not the end for me. And I decided that I would definitely want to go back to London the following year and race again and get my act together and get my training in order. And that's what happened. I did eventually go back to London in October 2022 and I ran it. And it was such a good feeling when I got to that exact same point in the race where I passed out the previous year and could turn the corner and complete it. And I guess they call this like redemption race. That was an incredible feeling. And I'm really, really glad I didn't give up on it because that was pretty horrible when it happened.
First of all, it's like a huge effort. It's just not about the
Yeah.
race day, it's about the month leading up to the race day because we wake up early in the morning or evening. We go run after the work. So, and we put in so much time and effort for it. And so close, like 40 and just 2 kilometers, And
Yeah.
that's why training is important because sometimes it shows on the rest day. And I'm glad that you were able to get back to it because it's very hard moment when you talk because when you said you were demotivated and I can feel
Yeah.
that I still feel the burn from Berlin Marathon last year because I wanted to get my
Mm.
goal and with injuries and sickness before the marathon I was not able to do it and I still don't enjoy running. It sucks. I'm glad that you got it back. So what was your feeling when it was not intentional but you had to DNF with the condition, right? So
Yeah.
leading after that race and then when you were training up, then how did you felt? That's a very tough
Um,
feelings right after.
But I knew pretty early on that I didn't want to give up. Basically, I took my training to the next level. I got out there more often. I mean, when I look back how I trained for that race, it was really ideal. Like I wasn't making enough time for running. And I think that's something that you really have to consider is the time you need to do all of the running to prepare properly for a race. Like you need those long runs on the weekend of, 1, 2 hours. So I think I knew I wasn't going to let it stop me from going back the next year. And I'm really, really happy I did.
Yeah, and when we do the races, sometimes setbacks happen.
Yeah.
There is races that like we say, okay, I'm gonna go do sub 24 hours, 5 hours or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So we all have goals and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen with various reasons. So how have you approached the races where you went for a certain time certain goal or something, and then you were not able to accomplish those? How do you handle those situations?
I think it can be so gut-wrenching to fall short of your goals, but it doesn't have to be the end of the road for you. I think it helps to see that shortcomings can be a catalyst for change, that you can get back up, you can dust yourself off, you can take a minute to recalibrate and then attempt that goal again with success. The sense of accomplishment you get from a comeback is so incredible, even if the way there was longer than you expected.
True. It is redemption is nice. How did you feel after you crossed that marathon second time?
Amazing. It was almost like disbelief. For me, that race started in those last 2 kilometers because that was where I had finished the year before. And then to get back there, that was just such an incredible feeling.
Like you said, your weekly mileage is not that much compared to the other people, right? 30 to 40 kilometers per week. Do you plan to build up that? Because since now you are doing this ultra in Switzerland.
I mean, I definitely will increase it a little bit, but I don't think it will be, I'm not going to be doing 100 kilometers per week or anything like that, unfortunately. I think it's the challenge that every runner faces, that it's like this balancing act with work and life obligations. So there's only so much time you can commit to it per week, but so far the 30 to 40 kilometers per week has definitely been working out okay for me, but I will pick it up a little bit prior to some of the races I have coming up.
In your running career so far, you have been doing all these marathon races, and apart from one, you've been pretty much killing it, with 320 being your fastest. So, what got you into ultras, and why ultra now?
I think for me, ultra is sort of like the next step. Like back when I was in college, when I first did that first half marathon, it was like, oh, this is a good feeling to kind of like seek out the next challenge and to push yourself. That's what I envision this ultra will be for me. I'm going to be participating in the Mat marathon in Switzerland. So it's 46K. So it's not the longest ultra marathon, but of course it's in the mountains. So it's going to be challenging in a different way. But I also have a different mindset going into the ultra because I did the Jungfrau marathon also in Switzerland, and that was just so beautiful. And it didn't have the same kind of pressure as the road races, where you have sort of a bit of a time pressure. And I think that was something that I enjoyed about it. Like it was kind of like when I first started running and I was just running laps at a local trail and I wasn't even thinking about time and stuff. And I think it's just going to be so beautiful, and it's going to be a great experience to have running in such beautiful nature and then pushing myself a little bit more than I ever have before.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I'm also training for my first ultra. And like you, I find this so much nicer because you don't have to think about the time. And this is first time probably in my running journey so far. I started walking on my run. So now every weekend I try to go and run. I'm building up my elevation. Yesterday I did around 200 meters. Now I'm from a person who don't like to run while walking. Now I'm like completely coming to this mindset that it is okay to walk, and I feel
Yeah.
now I'm enjoying it more because it's not about time, it's not about that I need to complete a marathon under 4 hours or something like that, where now I can just go
Yeah.
and enjoy. Even if I have to walk, so be it, because it's not that bad. We can walk, it's okay. Now slowly like getting that feeling where I'm enjoying running, because yes, the elevations are harder because it going up is hard. Like you said, running in the mountains are the harder part because it's a different
Mm.
kind of challenge than running in the. Now I can just go and enjoy. I can stop, take videos. Now on the uphill, I started eating snacks, getting used to the things and stuff, and it's just nice.
Yeah.
And I like
Yeah.
what you said, that the pressure is not there. Why do you think there is this pressure when you are running in this marathon, and when we are running ultras, then it's a totally different mindset in terms of running. If you compare the road marathon and ultra marathon, because we have experience now kind of last year, why do you think there is so much contrast?
Good question. I guess I don't have enough experience on ultras to really say, but at least when I was doing Jungfrau last year, of course, you're not going to have a PB on this course. And like every course is maybe so different. You've got different elevations and different challenges that you face that you can never say, like, oh, I'm going to run this route in like 5 hours or 4 hours. It's like really clear, like you have an idea of how flat or not flat a race is to really estimate what a good time would be, and then you hold that as a benchmark to yourself. And yeah, I think maybe that's the key difference, is that just the courses are so much more varied in the ultra scene.
And are you anticipating this challenge? Because being runner, the major shift in my mentality in running is being okay to walk. Because a lot of us are not working to
Mm,
walk. We don't like to walk. So are you embracing
yeah.
this change in yourself?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I accept also that there are going to be situations where you have to walk, like especially in mountainous terrain, that it's not going to be doable otherwise. So I totally accept that, and I'm going with the flow here and excited to see how this first ultra goes.
I'm waiting for it too. When
I'll
is it
report back.
actually?
Early July, I think the first weekend of July.
Oh, coming
Yeah,
3 weeks,
the fifth lie.
6 weeks,
The fifth lie.
eight
It's on
weeks.
Saturday.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're running on 4th of July or 5th of July. So same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And now going back to this running topic, if you could improve one thing, right,
Yeah.
between speed, endurance, mental toughness, which one are you picking and why?
Definitely would pick endurance. I've always found it challenging to keep my energy levels up, especially like on the latter half of marathons. Probably like everyone. I would love to be able to have really consistent pacing throughout a marathon. And I've had some modest success, but there have also been blow ups, of course. And then where you just have no energy and you feel awful, that would be definitely the superpower I would go for.
Agreed. That is something that it would be nice to us to be able to
Yeah.
sustain the same energy throughout the race. And
Yeah.
also, let's talk about your shoes because I know what you wear.
Yeah.
But what are you running in these days, and how did you decide to like which shoes you want to wear for which workouts?
I have several pairs, of course, that I cycle through, but the one I'm using the most is by far the Asics Super Blast. And I know it's a popular one amongst many runners, but for me, it is just so comfortable. It's an all-rounder. You can do speed workouts in it, you can do long runs with it. It's kind of got everything for me, so that's the one I most of all. I even ran the Jungfrau Marathon last year in them, so they can also be used for races. But then otherwise, I have some trail running shoes and I have some race day shoes from Nike, the Vaporfly, but still definitely my favorite is the Super Blast.
Have you invested in any like a trail running shoes now since you're gonna start doing ultras? Because knowing you, that is
Yeah.
probably just gonna be a beginning. There's gonna be more challenges coming up. So have you invested in one yet?
I have, because I do occasionally run trails in Berlin, and I have a pair of Hoka. God, I forgot the name of them. Yeah, I can't remember the name, but it's a pair of Hokas, and I actually got them thinking I might use them for the Jungfrau Marathon, but I realized that it's actually mostly paved, the Jungfrau, and so it wasn't like I didn't need the extra traction that comes from proper trail running shoes.
I asked for a bunch of. I remember few like Angus, and then Bobby gave me this probably Hoka. I think you are using the same Hoka trail running shoes. I also don't remember the name.
Wait, yeah, I can tell you it
Okay,
up.
I actually invested in New Balance one. God, I don't remember my name too, but I bought that one and I've been using that for my trail runs. And it's like millimeter drop. That's what I use for my road running shoes, and it's so nice. I think it's one of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. Which
It
one
was
is
the
yours?
Hoka Mafate Speed 4.
Okay, that is not the one they said.
Okay, yeah.
Does it fit well with your feet?
I just haven't like used it that much. I went to Mallorca in Spain and I ran some trails there last year with it, which was really nice. But then otherwise, I've just done a few trails in Berlin, but nothing more than really like not even 10K. So they've been good to me.
Any gears or gadget you can't live without for training or racing?
Yes, for me, and this is maybe a little bit of a strange answer, but I swear by medical tape for taping your nipples because it has such a strong adhesive that you really need for those long runs or marathons. My very first marathon I did in Rome before New York, and I wore the race shirt. They gave that was a mistake. They say you should never do anything new on race day. I learned that the hard way because I was wearing this white race shirt and it was a little bit too snug. I started to bleed, of course, and it just
Yeah.
looked like two bullet shots in my chest, and it was just red all over this white shirt. It was really very unpleasant. So that's how I definitely invested in making sure that I have my nipples taped
That's
before.
I've had that experience too. When I am not wearing the hydration vest, then I used to have that where my nipple would be chaffing, and it is
Yeah.
not a good feeling.
It was really horrible. Like you're pulling your shirt out so that it doesn't come in contact with your wound, and it was a miserable experience. Do not recommend.
I'm glad the taping works because I used to not the tape, but there used to be something that had like a shape where you can put it over the nipples. So there's even kind of I can look it up. I think one of my friends sent it to me too. I can send that. It's
Oh,
not a
yeah.
tape.
Is it the nip guard? I've tried that.
Yeah. doesn't work?
It sort of fits over top.
Yeah.
It's fallen off for me. So that's why I place a lot of value in really strong adhesive from the medical tape, and it's been working for me.
Have you tried using tape over that? That way, there is something when you're tearing out and it doesn't cut get on the.
Yeah. No, but like this is like way too detailed. But like I
Yeah.
make sure the shape fits perfectly and then I'm like
Okay.
cutting it out and then placing it. It's a pre-race tradition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has there ever been like gear fail during a race that has cost you?
I mean, like I said, the white shirt that I wore in Rome, that was one. But then also, I've done like a half marathon where I thought I didn't need so many gels. So I just took a small waist pack and then put my gels in there. But then the waist pack kept flopping up and down, and it was just really distracting for that race. So that has been a fail for sure. Clipping the toenails has also been a problem in the past. But other gear, I think those are the main ones for me so far.
Yeah, I think the nail one for me too. Not on the main toe, but on the smaller toe, then it bounces on the toe, and I think mine was
Yeah.
bleeding too much.
But I would echo
Even
the advice that everybody gives is like, don't do anything new on race day.
yeah.
100%. I fully agree with that.
Oh, by the way, what happened to that shirt?
Oh, I have a picture of it. I'll send you. See,
Okay.
it was after I tried to like clean it, but there was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'll send you a picture later.
Okay, waiting for that.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that you wear the adhesive tape now because that's not a good feeling because I've had several encounters with that and it hurts.
definitely.
And also now I think we're gonna talk to a little bit sensitive topic or it's a different
Yeah.
topic because we see internet and we all use Instagram, so there is different kind of runner image where they have to be lean and whatever. So far, the running culture tends to favor the ones that are lean. And have you ever felt judged or overlooked because of how you look?
I think I have felt like imposter syndrome a little bit sometimes, like because I've trained on my own and felt all fine, but then like when you go to races, sometimes you feel like you don't necessarily belong if you don't fit that mold. It's definitely been sort of like maybe more in my head than anything explicitly said to me, but you definitely just kind of have to overcome that, and it can take some time.
Yeah, I still see that, and it's sad because even if you look at all the endorsement or whatever, then it's traditionally towards the leaner people who looks nicer in a way. Because I was talking with Erin on the episode before, and then when she said, "Okay, she does ultras," and one of the people or the person she was talking to gave her the remark that you don't look like the type. So I think that's pretty common everywhere because runners we are just usually judged on how we look. It's me too because I don't have a good like a lean athlete build as well, so it's kind of a
Mm.
thing that we sometimes struggle with. Have you ever felt that?
Yeah, I've heard that comment before. Like when I have introduced myself and said that I'm a runner to people, they're always kind of like doing a second take and like, wait, you run? And then I think it's actually kind of cool that I can tell them I've done, 18 marathons
Yeah,
and
so
sort of like changing their perception of what a runner can be.
how do you think we can improve this, like educating people, because a lot of people are not aware that different build can do different things, because at the end
Yeah.
of the day it's about effort and we all use kind of the same thing, but it's probably much harder for people who are
Yeah.
not the traditional build.
I think it's just important you go out there and you start running, regardless of what people say. I know that that is much easier said than done, but I believe that running is a sport that can be welcoming to athletes of all backgrounds. Having said that, there is definitely a sort of unfair notion of what a runner should look like. But by going out there as a runner, maybe that doesn't fit the mold, you can show others that this idea of what a runner should look like no longer applies. I would also suggest that you not compare yourself too much to others because every running journey looks so different. To me, that's also what is so cool about the sport. It's just so incredibly diverse. I'm excited every time I meet a new runner from the community to hear their story, what got them into running. And I think that's just really cool. And I mean, we're all on the same path. So
Well said. I agree to that. And also, maybe the similar question to this, but what needs to shift in the running community to make it more inclusive, especially for folks that don't look like runner?
I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what I mentioned is that just like we just need to put themselves maybe out there and to overcome the challenge of doing something that people don't expect you to do. If you start doing that, it will create a different perception of what the sport can be. And I think that can be a very positive development.
All right, I think now we're gonna go towards like a something lightning round with a twist. This is probably like a rapid fire, Not a rapid fire because there is a rapid fire round coming on after this, but
Okay.
I think this
Okay.
is something would be fun to just know what would be your answers.
hmm
If you could run a marathon anywhere in the world, no budget, no logistic, where would you be going?
At the moment, it's the Boston Marathon, hands down.
That's your next one, right?
That would be because I'm doing the majors currently. I've got five down and six or seven, depending on how you look at it, to
Yeah,
go.
two more to go. Sydney
Two
and
more to go, yeah.
Boston.
Sydney and Boston.
I was gonna ask a question on that. When you started running, did you ever had this thought that you're gonna be going for all the majors? Because you have done five so far, and Boston and Sydney are next. So when you started running, was this like a main objective, or was this what you wanted? And what does it mean for you to compete all seven of them?
It wasn't really my plans. It's something that came up because, as I said, running the New York City Marathon was on my bucket list. Then I did that and had a time, and I realized, oh, this is like part of a series, and discovered the majors that way. And then, since I'm someone who also enjoys traveling a lot and seeing the world majors sounded amazing. So I started them in 2017 with New York, and then Chicago in 2018, Berlin 2019, London in 2021 and 2022, and Tokyo in 2023. And now Boston and Sydney remain. And it has been a really cool experience because I do feel like those races have a special atmosphere. And it's been just really a fun thing to work toward. Like I said, I just love having a goal to work toward and looking forward to completing it in the next couple of years.
What has been your most favorite one out of the five you have completed in terms of atmosphere? Time doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of how you felt you're running because it's a major, so everything would be different. So, which one has been your favorite?
I might be biased, but I would actually say Berlin.
Yes.
I would say Berlin, especially like last year's edition, the 50th anniversary. It was so good. I mean, it was also like one of my best races too, because I had that consistency. I had my pace down right, and the atmosphere was incredible. And I mean, it was huge, and you felt that it was huge. And I just love the finish, of course, too, right at the Brandenburg Gate. So that would definitely be my top. But I also, of course, loved running New York because that was my bucket list item. So that would be probably second place for me. But a really tough one.
Yeah. And on this topic, I don't know if you heard about this, but there is another thing called super apps. Have you ever heard of super apps?
Yeah, I guess I've
Okay.
partially done some of
Berlin.
them. Berlin, just
Yeah.
Berlin, yeah.
Yeah. Berliner is that, and there is Prague, Copenhagen, I
hmm
think Venice, something like six of them. And there is a series called Super Hab, so you might want to check it out. I think you might be interested
The half
of
marathon.
marathon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is nice. Okay, going back to the lightning round, what's
Oh, yeah.
the mantra or thought that's helped you survive brutal run?
I don't know if it's weird, but when I ran the Tokyo Marathon, a lot of Japanese people shouted fight. And I thought that's like, okay, it does feel like you're fighting sometimes. And that was one that kind of lifted me up a bit. I do something like runner math too, when you're like in the home stretch of a marathon and you're like, okay, I've got just 10K more to go. And of course, it's a brutal 10K, but you're like, but it's just 10K. Like I can do that probably in an hour or something. So I do kind of these weird calculations that kind of keep me motivated to keep going and sort of count down to the finish. But those are probably a
I do
few of
that
the
too.
weirder
I
thoughts.
go
Yeah.
I go
You
one two at certain
do,
point, and then
yeah.
after that it's just negative. It's just like only 20 kilometers, only 19, only 18. I do that. So
Yeah, had a few long runs where you've had
yeah.
some math going too.
Yes. I think it was our last run where you wanted to do 30 and I
Yes,
could only do 25. And that's what we were talking about. It's only half to go.
exactly.
You are running a race in costume. Pick a celebrity or a character to dress up as.
So I used to live in Cologne where the carnival is very big. And when I used to go to carnival, I would almost always dress as an animal. So I might go, I was a dolphin very many times.
God.
I still have the costume, so that could be an option.
How heavy is it?
It's not so heavy as that it's warm. It's very warm.
Yeah.
It's actually not really ideal for running in. But I would kind of like to do a race one day in costume of some sort, just to, add to the challenge.
Maybe a winter marathon.
That would be an option. I think there's also this marathon in France, the Marathon de Mid or something like that. You
Of
have to
course.
come in a costume. And I think it's a bit of a silly marathon because you have to dress up in a costume and they serve you like gourmet food along the route or something like that. And I think
Oh,
there's wine, so it's just for fun. But
yes.
maybe one day.
Interesting. Only one snack allowed on a long run. What's your go-to fuel?
Like food or gel or drink? Oh, I know what
One.
it is. It would have to be Coca-Cola. I love Coca-Cola on my long runs, actually. I always am so happy when races offer Coca-Cola from like 30K onward or so, because that really boosts my energy levels. They had it at the Hamburg Marathon recently, and that was just, oh, so nice.
I haven't tried. Does it help?
I think it gives you a really quick energy boost. And like Coca-Cola has a little bit of salt in it too, so that will as well. Yeah,
Interesting.
I like it. It feels good when I have it.
I have not tried Coke yet. Maybe I'll try it.
Definitely
I think.
worth a shot.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
One superpower to help your running, endless energy, no injuries ever, or instant recovery.
Oh, endless energy. I mean, I guess it's kind of like what I said earlier with endurance, because the act of running is fine, but if I don't have, the energy I need, and it's not going to happen. And like I said, I've had a few blow ups on a few races where it is not fun when that happens. So, yeah, having endless energy would be the way to go for me.
Not instant recovery when you are ready for another marathon next day.
It's funny you say that because I actually kind of enjoy the recovery process.
Okay.
I know that I'm gonna be like on spaghetti
Super
legs
slow.
or whatever, that it's like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Like I can chill in bed, eat a bunch of food, and just take a bath. And that's like, I feel like the recovery is a nice process, actually.
No, not for me. I think
Not
I'll
for
take the
you?
instant.
No, you're
No, I'll
like,
take the instant recovery and then go at it again and try to run as much as I can. Or maybe no injuries ever
okay.
too. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one non-running activity that secretly boosts your running?
I would say engaging with the running community on Strava or other social media has been really nice, because there's a lot of motivating, positive voices in this sport, and you don't hear them if you don't go to them. So that is one that, yeah, it's a boost when people tell me that I did a good job on a run or a race or whatever. And just connecting with like-minded individuals is always a nice thing.
It's nice to have friends that are as crazy as you.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that is all the regular questions. Now we're gonna move to something called quick fire, where no overthinking. I'll just ask you two questions, right? Either this or that, so you just pick either one of them.
Okay.
Morning runs or evening run?
Evening run, but I would prefer if I could manage more morning runs.
Extreme heat or freezing cold?
Freezing cold all the way. I don't get very cold quickly, so I don't mind in the cold. I know some people hate it when it goes like below freezing in the winter, but I don't mind at all. I mean, you've
I
seen
know
me.
that
I don't
feeling.
I don't
Yeah,
even wear
that's what I was gonna.
like jackets sometimes.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm 5 layers in, and you are just with no hat, nothing. You are just like, oh, is it
Yeah.
cold? Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed workout you love.
I definitely like high intensity interval training. Like I said, I kind of do enjoy pushing myself to the limits. And of course, that is like the ideal way to do it. So, because a lot of times, like on the long runs and, the stuff that I do to prepare for a marathon, I'm a steady heart rate the whole time and it's like really calm. And the high intensity training is just like another beast. And you just have to go all out. And that's like something that I'm not doing so much with my body. So it's fun to have that experience.
What's mistake?
Well, I think I listed a few of them already.
I was gonna ask
Not taping my nipples is
nipples,
one of them on my first race. Using
toenails.
any kind of new equipment on the day of the race. Oh, actually, also like nutrition. I think when I did the Paris half marathon in 2017, I thought like I need to eat all the carbs. I had like a big meal the night before and went to the race the next day, and then of course, horrible. I
Yeah,
felt, nature knocking pretty quickly, and
quickly.
that was very, very unpleasant. And I was happy when I got to the finish line. So I made all kinds of pre-race mistakes. Ask me anytime.
One piece of gear you can't live without.
I mean, can I say my running shoes?
Yeah.
I mean, my daily trainer, Super Basic Super Blast is like, and then one other thing I would say is the Salomon hydration vest, because that's keeps me going on the long runs. And I even wear it at races as well occasionally. Those two things.
I bought Salomon Skin 12 too.
It's so good.
Yeah, I've been using it on my long runs. So, do you check your watch constantly or run by feel?
It varies. I don't check my watch unless I'm like when I ran the Berlin Half Marathon this year, I used the pacing feature on the Garmin so that I would stay within a certain range. And there I was looking at it a lot, and that is helpful, but it's also kind of stressful. So in my
Mhm.
normal training runs, generally avoid that.
Bucket list out of Boston.
Bucket list marathon. I mean, did you say Boston?
I said
Or which
except
one did you
Boston
say?
because we talked about Boston. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there is any other race, yeah.
I mean, I would like to do the Marine Corps Marathon, Virginia, because that's where I'm from originally. So I think that would have a special meaning to me. That's one on the list. I would also love to do the one in California along the coast.
Big Sur Marathon.
Big Sur.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, really cool. And I've checked a few things off my list that were really like bucket list marathons. Last year was one. I did the Tromso Midnight Sun Marathon
Mhm.
in June. That was really epic. So for now, I would say Marine Corps Marathon, Big Sur, and Boston, of course.
Yes, of course. What's worse, hitting the wall or missing a PR by seconds?
Hitting a wall, definitely. It's so horrible when you like, because the motivation, you can still be mentally very in it, but if your body isn't cooperating, it's a terrible feeling.
It is. Run with music or silent?
Mostly I run with music. If I've had a hard day and I need running as therapy, then I do without music.
Okay. One word to describe the finish line feeling.
Joyous.
Joyous. Interesting
Joyous.
word.
Joy.
Oh, okay. I think I have one last question for you, and I think this is the question that everybody gets.
Uh-huh.
Running has changed my life because
Running has changed my life because it has been very good for my health. It has enabled me to connect with a lot of really cool runners who have incredible stories. It's been a way for me to discover the world a bit more.
beautifully said. I think it's been a blast having you on the show, and I have known you for a while, and it's nice to share the side of your story because I know you are incredible and you run fast, despite like we talked about later on. And it's incredible because how you run, you inspire me to run Berlin half together, and then you were hustling and beating that. I'm really grateful we had this time together, and thank you for your time for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun, and I look forward to connecting with other runners who are listening to this.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.